Broadcasting live from the psychiatric ward called Planet Earth. I am Maximum Doubt, your host for tonight on Architects of Humanity. I'd like to bring up a few points about animal intelligence and, of course, the stream. Are animals more aware than humans? There are a few points. Of course, the thumbnail, we see the camouflage of it's the gecko that camouflages as leaves. It's a kind of an amazing creature, the leaf gecko dragon, something like that. But the fact is, this life form blends in with leaves. How does it know to do that? How did this ever come to be? Is there some type of intelligence that surrounds everything? Because when you look at animals that mimic things, it really makes you wonder. And then regular animals that don't mimic, right, show diverse cognitive abilities in non-human species. Self-awareness. A lot of people don't like to admit that animals show self-awareness. They show thinking, what's known as the theory of mind, complex communication, and social learning. Just the way they said AI created a new language where they can communicate quicker that humans didn't understand, is the same way animals have certain linguistics that we don't understand that actually work better than the language we use or the languages that we use. So we see chimpanzees using sticks to fish for termites, while crows create tools to solve puzzles. Social complexity, cognitive abilities, problem solving. Ravens, yeah, they can solve multi-step puzzles faster than some primates. So now it's changing everything what they have told people to believe. When you have ravens that are solving problems, multi-step puzzles faster than some primates. Numerical. The numerical ability that parrots demonstrate is just amazing. The memory that chimpanzees have shown superior short-term memory for numbers compared to humans. And this is also proven. So chimpanzees have shown superior short-term. Superior is not the greatest word, but you know how evolution tries to put that in there. It was based on that, on a hierarchy of hate. Ravens plan. Ravens and other animals have been observed storing items for future use, demonstrating forward thinking. There's an instance with a dolphin trying to teach its trainer, chastise them, discipline them for doing something wrong. This dolphin had saved an old piece of fish. They say, oh, it picked up an old piece of fish at the bottom of the pool and spit it at the trainer, when it was after it performed the trick and the trainer didn't give the dolphin the fish, the fresh fish that it was supposed to give. Whether the trainer forgot or decided not to, the dolphin said, look, I got to keep this guy honest, went down, picked up the old fish, came up and spit it in his face to tell him, hey, you're supposed to give me a piece of fish for that. I performed it correctly, and he didn't do that. So this is how smart dolphins are. And again, the dolphin is not a happy camper. Dolphins have formed circles around humans in water to protect them from sharks. And instead of being grateful for that, what do the certain humans do? They put them in a prison, in a pool, swimming around in a circle for decades. I mean, if that ain't torture, man, what is? Animals are not trying to do this to humans. There are some insects, when we look at it, that have some astonishing life cycles. I mean, the parasitic wasp, it really makes you wonder. The way how they will implant eggs into a caterpillar And how does the larvae know to avoid the organs, vital organs? It'll eat part of the caterpillar, but it won't eat the parts that will kill the caterpillar. It'll only eat parts that will sustain it. And then when they come out and they make their little cocoons, the caterpillar has some type of, I guess from the sting of the wasp, it programs it to protect the larva or the larvae. That's just, I mean, that's on a level of programming that we don't even know, man. Amazed. Good to see you, brother. Always a pleasure, man. Mr. Rex. Yeah, this is a good one, man. I got some stuff from the Science of Premonitions, and it showed how people have these, a premonition, a power, like a psychic power. There was an exploding church in Beatrice, Nebraska in 1950. All 15 members of a church choir were late for practice on the same evening. Each person had a different reason. A car didn't come to pick them up, a student finishing homework, or someone simply falling asleep at 7:27 p.m. Exactly when practice would have been in session, the church was leveled by a natural gas explosion. No one was injured. And you look at that and you say, how did people just have some type of premonition? Or somebody was running late, one guy was doing homework, somebody fell asleep, and nobody was hurt. Coincidence? No, I don't think so. The avoidance of doomed transportation. Larry Dossey, the doctor that wrote the book, The Science of Premonitions, which was originally titled The Power of Premonitions, he cited a study by a researcher, W.E. Cox, who analyzed passenger loads on trains that crashed between 1950 and 55. And the data showed specific trains consistently had fewer passengers than same trains on the same day the previous week or month, suggesting people subconsciously avoided the disaster. We already know the subconscious goes way deeper than the conscious. The conscious is the top of the iceberg. The subconscious is what lies underneath. Could it be that our subconscious protects us? Red Blur, what's up, brother? Good to see you, man. Animals have a higher intelligence in some aspects, and humans have as well. But to say that they don't just doesn't add up with science. Now, when we look at dolphins, whales, and certain primates that exhibit complex communication, with some chimpanzees using basic human sign language. I mean, this is some real serious stuff here when we think about that. So we have the exploding church, the avoidance of certain transportation, like the trains that had crashed. So he analyzed passenger loads on trains that crashed between 1950 and 55, and people just subconsciously avoided those trains for some reason. And these are crashes that, this is not like a planned thing. The Amanda case, the falling chandelier. A woman had her baby's crib, right, where a chandelier was above it. And in the middle of the night, she just got up and grabbed her baby and brought it back to bed with her. And the chandelier, the heavy chandelier, I mean, who was going to really, I guess maybe she wasn't thinking, or maybe they thought it was, why would you even set your baby's crib underneath a chandelier? But it had been hanging directly over the crib, broke loose and smashed into the empty bed. But that was after she moved her baby from his crib to her own bed in the middle of the night. So it wasn't like maybe it was a premonition. So we have that for the humans, but I had uploaded a video about a cat that had, this cat, Oscar, from a Rhode Island hospital, used to detect when people were passing in a hospice. So people that were terminally ill, Oscar the cat would go to their room approximately 2 to 4 hours before they pass, and it would wait with them 100% accuracy for over 100 people that passed. Over 100 people. It was 25, 30, and the number just kept climbing. I think it was between 2007 and 2012. An article was written about the cat in 2007 by The Guardian that explained it in detail. But in the short videos, I put it up a little while ago, I show the cat, Oscar. They have pictures of the cat that actually did this, that had these, that the ability. Now, it could be the pheromones. There are definitely changes and stuff. But again, it shows that the cat has more senses. And there were a few documented incidences when the cat was denied entry to a room and reacted with visible distress. So when Oscar was occasionally put out of a room by a family that did not want him there, he would pace diligently in front of the door and meow his displeasure. Makes you wonder, is the cat, what is the cat doing? The Egyptians, I don't know if it's accurate, but people have said that some of the translations talk about cats being able to walk people across the boundaries from one life to the next. And dogs are supposed to be the guardians between the boundaries of worlds. So maybe the cat was, saying, wait, it needs somebody there. Or maybe the cat was doing something else. Cat murderer, who knows? Taking souls. I mean, we don't know. This requires much more research. And this is the interesting part, to say, hey, we have scientific evidence of stuff like this. The pacing in the hallways. One rare occasion he was excluded. His behavior of pacing and crying outside of the door was described as a fateful but frustrated attempt to reach the patient. The reactions were viewed by the medical staff as part of his strong drive to stay with those who were in their final hours. Other notable details regarding his persistence and accuracy included. So the cat knows this person's going to pass. So that's another thing. Correction of medical opinions. In one specific case reported by Medical News, a doctor, Dr. Joan Tino, believed a patient was dying because her legs were turning blue and her breathing was erratic. Oscar visited but refused to stay. The cat was not friendly. It was a tabby cat. So it wasn't a cat that was agreeable. It's going to do those. It was one of those cats that's going to do what it wants to do. So it refused to stay, only returning to sit with her 8 hours later, exactly 2 hours before she actually passed away. Look at that. Oscar was, predicting, it knew. That not only tells us that the cat knew somehow when the person was going to pass, but it also indicated that the cat has an understanding somehow of time, because it has a way of gauging, like, wait a minute, it's too early. I'll come back in 6 hours, 7 hours. And you say to yourself, how would it be able to do that? So maybe it had a smarter internal clock than humans usually have. Most humans. Some of us are in tune. His predictions were so consistently accurate that if Oscar settled into a bed, it was considered an almost absolute indicator of impending death, prompting staff to immediately call the family. So this is just one instance of Oscar, a documented one, right? We know that vultures, they say, can smell certain pheromones coming off of dying and dead bodies. And this is why they say that they circle, they'll search for food. They also can sense other things. I mean, you can see certain things that are just easy for them to sense, but being able to detect these pheromones, they use turkey vultures, right, to circling leaks in gas lines, right? In the gas lines they put ethyl mercaptan, and this is an odorless gas to alert humans to leaks. Is the same chemical released by rotting carcasses. So now the turkey vultures, when they smelt that, would detect the leak in the gas lines. Excellent way of using them to find it. So it's really some serious stuff there. Mr. Rex, what's up, my brother?
Hey, good to see you, MD. Yeah, should be an interesting topic. I like the information you're bringing on board here. It's real fascinating.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Yeah, it's very. I had the book years ago by Dr. Larry Dossey, The Science of Premonitions, and he gets really deep with different cases of humans being able to use somehow the subconscious to avoid certain disasters.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it involves a supernatural element, our consciousness, our spirit. There's metaphysical beings, I think, that warn us, that protect us, that we're not aware of. That's my own belief system, nothing scientific about it whatsoever. Um, but in talking also about the animals and what they're capable of doing, I just think that screams order and design. But there's a creator out there that made all this for us. You know what I'm saying? It's
Oh yeah, it definitely didn't happen by design. Yeah, definitely. I mean, by accident. Yeah, definitely. I
yeah.
mean, the channels that are out there, like Gutsick Gibbon, I think it's Andro Anton Petrov. He's a Russian dude, I think.
Hmm.
Fake Professor Dave. They are so religiously nutcase for evolution. I mean, Petrov had a video trying to say birds are explaining how consciousness. I mean, they take anything and just lie.
Yeah.
And, and it's just, I'm very surprised.
Well, you're familiar with the complexity of a simple cell and how complex it is, but is it possible, do you think, that a cell serving no purpose could wait around millions of years for the other pieces to come together to actually form a purpose? That's really that's like magic. If that's the case, if these parts could just sit around not serving a purpose until all these other parts came into to evolve and to join up. I mean, but you know, they couldn't just wait around doing nothing and survive over time. I mean, that's not very scientific. That.
Yeah, definitely not scientific. I mean, what kind of crushes it easily is the analogy I had made up to say, we don't even see a spoon. So a spoon, something that you would say, okay, that is much less complex than anything living or
Right.
anything mechanical, even a bicycle, a skateboard. But let's be as simple as possible to kind of just totally shut it down, to say, okay, can we agree that a spoon is not as complex as a cell? Because they're going to try to lie their way out of it.
Of course.
They're
Of
going
course.
to lie and lie. So that's the first step, to say, okay, can we agree? And really, it would have to be to kind of bait them in to say, look, let's just agree that, without even saying about something forming or happening by chance, just bringing up the question so they're disarmed right there. Because, once they're armed, they're just lie city right after that. So
Mhm.
it's saying, okay, it's like, hey, you know what? I have a question. A cell, is a spoon more complex than a cell? So once they're like, well, no, what are you, an idiot or something? It's like, well, I'm asking because I want to know. Okay, so a spoon is simple, right? A cell is much more complex. And so a spoon, which is less complex than a cell, much less complex than anything living, if a spoon does not form by chance, and there is no evidence of a spoon ever forming by chance, you're telling me that something that's way more complex, that has a finite, like you were saying, if something forms, it's going to dissipate if the other thing doesn't form or form
Yes.
together. So much more complex, much more. You're telling me that's going to form by chance when a simple spoon can't form by chance. And that comparison, it just, for if the person is not, total straitjacket like most of these guys are.
They are. They are.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the problem. You're right. They are. But the other people listening, like the people that haven't been fully zombified by their rhetoric, or want to, or maybe they were abused by the church or something, and they want a place to go to, but they don't know where to go. And the evolutionists are just waiting there for them. You got
Yeah.
Aaron Ra waiting. waiting to butt pirate somebody. I mean, that's a creepy dude.
He
He's
is.
a creepy dude.
He's
So,
definitely into Satanism. I mean, he's not fooling me one bit. You know,
oh yeah,
he's no.
who was it? Somebody had a video with some pictures of him with two guys in BDSM leather.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, on
Yeah,
both sides of him. Like he's standing in the middle and then they're both on each side. And these are like, I mean, straight like the who was the guy from the Village People with the leather on?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that guy, looking like that guy. Both I was like, holy smokes. And so you're right. There's something clearly there.
Hmm.
And so he'll be waiting, and the person definitely might have went through some serious trauma from the religion, and they're just waiting for these guys to say, you see that nothing exists. They don't have guys like us to say, because there's not many channels that would say, okay, look, we're just going to look at this from a scientific aspect, and we're not saying that we can't prove that religion is right, but the science has proved creation is real. And I think that's where the Christians and some maybe other religions I've noticed the Muslims are starting to do those videos now that the Christians were doing, where they were debunking the evolution.
Hmm.
But then they scare the people away when they say, oh, well, this proves and it's like, no, it doesn't. It doesn't prove what's in the book. We still need to analyze this. There are a lot of things written in there that are clearly untrue. And then there's stuff that is written in there that does corroborate with science, which is one of them is that humans and all life and the environment was created. It didn't happen by chance. And
Yeah, and I want to look at everything from a scientific point of view, and the scientific point of view also is clearly that it can't explain everything. That's also a scientific point of view. That's true.
yeah,
Because there's a limit to the science that we can test and observe. We cannot
yeah,
test and observe the beginning of this universe.
yeah,
We
exactly.
cannot do it.
Exactly. And they won't admit that. They definitely won't admit that. They'll lie and say science can do that. And it's like, not if you don't have a time machine. And
Right.
even if you put those parameters, you're saying, well, wait a second, there's other things that factor in. Let's just say you did have a time machine. It's still, you might not be able to get those answers.
Right.
But
I don't think we've ever viewed it. I don't think science has ever seen this stuff actually form.
oh, your phone broke up. I heard science. The last thing I heard was science.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
can you
breaking
hear me
up.
now better?
Yeah, much better, much better.
Oh,
Yeah, you
much
said
better. Okay, I
science.
just had to move around. Yeah, but yeah, it's never seen a star actually form, and I believe that's correct, isn't it? That they
Yeah, no,
never actually witnessed a star form.
yeah, they're trying to say, okay, this star looks smaller and it's a white dwarf, and then we see this one over here that's yellow, and they're using like an extrapolation to say,
Yeah.
oh, well, we see this, and it's like, well, wait a minute. What totally destroys them is when they say, well, it takes, hundreds of thousands or billions of years for the star to change. And it's like, well, now I know for sure you don't know, because
Right.
you don't have a billion years. You don't even have 100,000 years to observe it, 10,000 years. So how are you
Right.
figuring this out?
No, they're
And,
making
and
stuff up off the top of their heads. That's basically all they're doing.
yeah,
No
exactly.
ifs, ands, or buts about it because we've never even seen a star form. So how you going to hypothesize about how it? You can make a hypothesis, fine, but doesn't mean it's anywhere near accurate.
Yeah. Yeah. The
Yeah.
most that I could say, like they have a documentation of the Crab Nebula, I think from ancient Chinese maps,
Hmm.
when it might have been a star that exploded to say, okay, the Crab Nebula was a star and it was charted in this area where we see the Crab Nebula today, but on ancient Chinese maps, it's still a star
Right.
2,000 years ago. And it's like, okay, that's a good thing, but it still doesn't tell you, one, how it formed. It didn't tell you, you don't have the observations in between. You have, okay, we see a gaseous thing in that area, which
Hmm.
seems to be a star that exploded. And then we see on this map, it's that. And it still could be wrong. So for me, the whole thing is, it's like, okay, yeah, the stars are great, man. They're beautiful, right? But what about the ocean? They definitely don't want people looking in the ocean for some reason. It just common sense tells me, wait, so you're telling me you mapped the moon, even the dark side, you mapped Mars, but you didn't map the ocean on Earth,
Hmm.
right? So it's kind of like, what are you trying to get me to look away from with this? And then again, they're very much on the animals. There's a researcher, Eugene Linden. He's like very well known, I think, from way back, like the 70s, from Animal Kingdom and stuff, from Omaha, Nebraska. Um, he's like a specialist on imprisoning animals, chimpanzees in particular, and then tries to act compassionate, even though he's one of the jailers, basically, what they do to these animals. But he wrote a book. I think he's co-author on the Octopus and the Orangutan. I think that's the name of it. I might still have it. But he talked about how octopuses were master escape artists, that they can pick locks on their tanks and time their escape when the keepers are not watching. So, I mean, that level of intelligence for a cephalopod, it's
Hmm.
like, wait a second. Elephant coordination. They said elephants working together to open their cages at night and switching habitats, showing advanced spatial awareness and cooperation. Um, Deception and larceny. The book is filled with stories of animals using stealth and deception to steal food. And when they say steal food, I'm like, wait a minute, these animals aren't stealing food. You imprisoned this animal to where it can't even eat the way it's supposed to. And then when it goes to get food, you're going to say it's steal. And that's the whole mentality of these garbage bags, to say, wait a second, man, how do you even, it's so immature to say, wait, you put this innocent animal in a cage. And then when it tries to get food on its own, you're going to say it's stealing it. It didn't have to steal food. When it was out in the wild, it didn't have to. Now, there are instances of monkeys coming, stealing drinks and stuff after the tourists have, they see. But is it stealing, or is it saying, look, this is all free? Nature gave it to everyone free. So they tricked the human caretakers, demonstrating a theory of mind. So this is clearly, like, now the evolutionists are talking about this, but they're fighting over this because they're going to say, well, how did this develop and all of this stuff? Instead of saying, look, a theory of mind is not going to just happen like that. And this
Right.
is, yeah, so they're having that. They're admitting to the theory of mind during the certain food, or tricking them, to get the food. Bargaining and negotiation. Animals are portrayed as tough negotiators. For instance, this primates learn the value of specific items and will only trade them back to keepers for high value treats. So it's like they know, okay, this is worth more than this. That's that's intelligence right there. Altruism, that's the big one, and empathy. Beyond just cleverness, Eugene Linden he highlights the surprising acts of kindness and friendship between different species. That's the crazy thing. Humans got a problem getting along with their same human brothers and sisters, and you got animals showing acts of kindness and friendship between different species,
Sure.
suggesting, yeah, that emotional intelligence is much more widespread than previously thought.
Maybe the creator made those animals to teach humans about how they should be behaving. I mean, there's a lot we've learned from animals.
Yeah,
Look at the beaver with the dam. He was making dams long before mankind started making dams. And we
exactly.
see how much value, how much advancement we've made with dams and to provide us with electricity and water supply and
Mhm.
you name it. So I just think the creator made all these creatures that we could learn off of.
Yeah, the animals are here kind of to teach us. I definitely think so. It's like they
Hmm.
teach us many things. It's like with the ants, the ants can teach us a lot. I think there was a king, Solomon, that talked about that. Watch the ant. He said, watch the ant, something about, and learn her ways. Now,
Sure.
if that is, correctly translated, the ants he was watching, I think that particular species like about half of the workers are female ants. So it's like, how did he know? Because to see certain things like that, you need microscopes. And
Hmm.
now they're showing that they found like an ancient glass, like it was like a quartz glass that was grounded down, that could be basically a primitive microscope or primitive like magnifying glass. So they're seeing stuff that, hey, this is there's some lost technology here. So
Yeah.
when he highlights the kindness and the friendship, uh, the convergent intelligence, they call another one, which is intelligence. Of course, they're going to say that evolves in surprising new places, but it doesn't evolve, and
No.
it's found, it's noticed, it's observed. That's the proper word. Intelligence that's observed in surprising new places, like mollusks and birds. So when environmental challenges such as complex social groups require it, and then they try to say much like it did humans. I mean, every second they're trying to bring in some evolution propaganda. But
Yeah. And it's actually, you just nailed it right there when you said propaganda, because I had mentioned this last night. Charles Darwin, when he came out with his theory of evolution, that preceded, I believe, the British conquest of the world, the colonialization, and the overtake, against all these tribal countries, the tribal races in the British Empire. I don't think that's coincidence. It was probably built, at that time. Remember, there was no television or news or CNN, so everything was through the written word. So that was the propaganda of the favored races, Charles Darwin. And lo and behold, it's okay for the British to go in and take over a tribe and wipe people out to take over the land
yeah,
for colonization because they were the favored race.
yeah,
That was clearly propaganda for the British
oh,
Empire.
definitely. And they would just say it's just evolution. It's not us being immoral. There's no morality because it's evolution. It's
Yeah,
just, that it's a perfect lie for what they did. But
yeah.
as these researchers look into the animal intelligence, like there was an orangutan called Fu Manchu,
Hmm.
and he was a master at planning and picking locks. Fu Manchu escaped his enclosure multiple times using a small piece of wire to trip a door latch. He had secret stashes where he hid wire in the fold of his gum, his lip, and his teeth so keepers wouldn't find it during inspections.
Hmm.
He had a bribe system. Investigating how he got the wire, keepers discovered that it likely came, so they still don't know. The orangutan is still outsmarting them. So, that's one of those evolution words, likely. It's like, wait, so you don't know. If you say it likely came from a light fixture, you don't know if it did.
Hmm.
Because if you did, you would say it came from a light fixture. So they still don't know, right? And they're thinking that it came from a neighboring cage, and they observed Fu Manchu passing monkey biscuits to a female orangutan in that cage, suggesting he may have traded food for the tool he needed to escape. I mean, this is such a high level of intelligence, because how did they even communicate? He's like, how does he even tell her, look, I need this specific tool. Here's this biscuit. I need that. I mean, yeah, so this brings up a lot of stuff. Crows with complex tool use, the book details, the crows creating and using tools such as hooks to reach food in places that they otherwise couldn't. Logical reasoning. Linden notes that crows can recognize geometric shapes and patterns, a skill previously thought to be uniquely human or primate, of course, because they don't look at anything else as smart unless they deem it to be, because they're very biased. So we have that. And there's a lot of other things too. Like I had showed I had uploaded the gecko that I put on the thumbnail. I think it's the leaf dragon gecko. So this gecko, I mean, is blending in with the leaves.
Wow.
It's almost unbelievable to even think this is real. It's like, holy smokes. I mean, it's like there's some type of intelligence around everything. How does something like this even, there's just no way. I mean, you look at this and it's like this is a level of engineering that I don't even know what to begin to say. I mean, it's imitating not living leaves, but leaves that are dried. And
Right.
then, we have the moth imitating one, but then also we have a type of moth that's imitating waste. It's imitating
Mhm.
a bird dropping. It's like, how does this moth know to imitate a bird dropping? Then there's another moth that imitates bird droppings in more of a splatterish type of way. I mean, this is ingenious. This
And
moth,
evolution will say it's an adaptation, which is bullshit, which is BS. You
yeah,
know.
total BS. Yeah.
Yeah.
This moth here looks, I mean, how does it, I mean,
Unbelievable.
right? This is unbelievable. Unbelievable, man. And when it flies, you see it's a moth, and then it folds in and it turns into just a level of camouflage that's on another. This here looks like moss on a tree branch, and then when it lifts up, people see that it's a gecko. So it's literally a gecko that when it lays down, it blends right in with the tree branch as if it's some type of moth. I mean, that's a level of, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's
That
just,
just implies design. I mean, why would a beaver need to make a dam? If you think about it, you know what I mean?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
To survive, it could just live in a hole or a little cubby or something like that. But it builds an actual dam, and that dam is actually very beneficial to the environment and for other species. They need that dam for water.
mm-hmm.
So it's like the creator made all these species, and they all serve a purpose. They all contribute to the biology. It's not coincidence.
Yeah,
They all have some type of reasoning for their existence, some type of purpose.
yeah,
The part of
clearly,
the machine. Hmm.
yeah, clearly. It's clearly, it's like something that, I mean, when you look at some of it, it's like you think like, wow, the architects of humanity are masters of design,
Yeah.
the engineering, the architecture, the construction.
And
It's just,
unlike what evolution says, originally Darwin thought the cell was just a simple organism, just like a blob of jelly.
mhm,
It's actually, we see, we look at the flagellum, and what do we find? We find a DC motor basically
yeah,
running the tail. Things get more complicated the deeper you go. It doesn't get less complicated. It actually gets more complicated, just like DNA. And
exactly.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
just what we're finding right now is astounding. There's
yeah,
probably more information that they haven't discovered.
yeah, exactly. And they probably hide stuff. I wouldn't put it past them because of all the lies that they've done. Yeah, the Michael Cremo said, he said, scientists lie, they cheat, they steal. And this is the truth. I mean, they're selling ancient artifacts. The fact that they filled back in Gobekli Tepe, which would have changed many things in the evolutionary timeline with writing and all of that, and they covered it up in Turkey. And then they planted olive trees because it's against the law to dig up olive trees. So it's
There
like,
was something there they didn't want people to know, obviously.
exactly. Yeah, and people have pictures of it when it was part of it was excavated. They're saying that
Mhm.
that was only 5% and it was purposely buried. So it was purposely buried. It makes me wonder, like, did they know that there was some type of catastrophe that was coming? Possibly
Mhm.
a flood or something like that. Because
Yeah.
if you bury it, yeah, it's going to be protected. They said the Sphinx was buried in sand. They have pictures that it was dug out, and it seems that it was purposely buried too. So they have that. But now we have another one with the dolphin. This was the story that where the dolphin, it involves a dolphin who took issue with the trainer's lack of focus. So the dolphin's like, hey man, what are you, dazing or something? During a training session, the trainer became distracted and failed to give the dolphin a fish at the correct moment. They call it a bridge in training terms. Instead of continuing to perform or become aggressive, the dolphin stopped the session entirely. It swam to the bottom of the tank, retrieved a piece of leftover fish from a previous session, and swam back to the trainer. The dolphin then spat the fish directly at the trainer's face.
Hmm.
And So they try to say, oh, leftover fish. The dolphin could have stashed that fish to say, listen, if this guy does something, I got something to teach him a lesson with. Why would it leave a piece of leftover fish there, right?
Right.
So then Linden and Pryor, another researcher, interpret this as not a random aggression, but as a sophisticated form of social correction. So you got dolphins socially correcting trainers. And it was essentially saying, I know you have the fish, and I know I did the trick right. Since you won't give me mine, here's one for you. Or this is, I'm letting you know. And this is some high level stuff. So the theory of mind, the dolphin understood the trainer was the source of the reward and realized the contract of the training session had been broken. So the theory of mind, boom, it's showing that right there. Intentionality, the act of retrieving a tool, the old fish, specifically to make a point, shows planned behavior rather than a simple reflexive response. So now we have planned behavior. The humor or irony, many researchers view these types of corrections as a form of pranking or something because they can't accept the truth that the dolphin is most likely more intelligent than them, but still doesn't seek to put them in a cage, suggesting dolphins have a complex emotional life and a sense of fair play. That this is just on a level, like you were saying, they're teaching us, like if people, like, there's certain, like, dogs, the service dogs and stuff, where some humans have said, okay, look, hey, you know what, these dogs can detect things better than us. They can help
Oh,
people.
sure. No, of course, the hearing and everything. There's no question
Yeah.
about it.
And now they had a look for the study where the dog was I think it was what was it? It was detecting tumorous lesions better than certain medical devices. So it's like certain scanners, the dog would actually, in the first stages, could detect it quicker than the medical devices we have. It could detect differences in blood sugar. It was a lot of things. I was like, wow, this is some deep stuff. It also has so that's the setup thing with that. But they had another one with the chimps. Back to the chimps. The researcher hid high value food like bananas and stuff in a field where the subordinate chimp was watching, but not the dominant chimp. So instead of running straight to the food, the subordinate chimp intentionally walked away from it and looked in the opposite direction until the dominant chimp lost interest and fell asleep. Only when the boss wasn't looking, that's when the subordinate quietly circled back to dig up the prize. It shows the chimp knew what the other chimp didn't know. So again, it's bringing in theory of mind. And they see this with other antelopes giving false calls and stuff like that. But yeah, there is a lot of evidence to show animal intelligence test.
Hmm.
Yeah, elephants actually showed that they test electric fences by dropping dry branches, which do not conduct electricity. So a fresh branch could, in theory, and the water in it could conduct electricity. So they know this, and I think it's also true that it can. So they're smart enough to use a dry branch. I mean, that's like on another level. And they throw it onto the electric fence to short them out or knock them down safely. So now they can push against the dry sticks, demonstrating a clear understanding of the invisible barrier's mechanics.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they also have an elephant's graveyard where they go back to visit the dead. They have like film on that too. So hiding tools, deceptive calmness, the lookout. Elephants have been shown to muffle bells. So elephants that were forced to wear bells so keepers could keep track of them learned to stuff the bells with mud. This silenced the clapper. allowing the elephants to sneak into local farms at night to steal crops without being heard. And it's not to steal crops, it's to obtain food. You know, it's like they're starving these freaking things. And it's like, come on, the thing, it got so inventive. It's like, and you're not even going to, you're going to keep this thing imprisoned. And it's like, it's just horrible when I look at what the so-called
You
modern.
mentioned oh, I was just gonna say you mentioned electrified, and it got me thinking about the electric eel. I mean, what process through genetic mutation creates an animal, a species that can produce electricity, you know? And it's not like other species are very similar to it. It's unique in its own way that it can produce electricity. The shark can't do it. Other fish you don't see doing it, but here's this electric eel that somehow in the ocean is producing electricity. It's like, come on, guys, that's order and design. That is not some mutation, you know? How do you explain electricity as a mutation, you know?
Yeah. And you know what's amazing is they say that there's over 350 species of fish that can generate electricity. They call
Oh,
it
really?
electrogenesis. Yeah. Not just the eel, but, and that's just amazing. They have an electric catfish.
Mm-hmm.
They have stingrays, electric rays, and stargazers. But the electric eel is just on another level. But
Yeah.
they use high voltage shocks to hunt and defend themselves. The elephant nose fish has weak pulses for navigation, so you have that too. The catfish, though, found in African rivers, can discharge up to 350 volts to stun prey, which is,
Really? I didn't know that.
oh yeah, it's up there. The electric rays in torpedo fish can deliver up to 220 volts to immobilize prey. And they were known by the Greeks as a form of anesthesia. The black ghost knife fish, popular aquarium fish that uses a weak electric pulse from its tail to navigate, they say, in darkness. Stargazers, a spiny bottom dwelling fish that uses bioelectrogenesis to shock prey. So, I mean, this is crazy. Weakly electric fish, many species use weaker electricity, similar to a hum, to navigate. The platypus and echidna, these mammals use electroreceptors on their snouts to detect weak currents from prey. Bees use static electricity. They say that bees don't fly because physics couldn't explain why they could fly.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually they started to gain a deeper understanding because in physics, basic physics that they had, they couldn't explain. They said the helicopter wouldn't fly, but it flew.
Right.
Just the way they can't explain humans, but we exist. And they're always behind a few steps, and then they'll lie to try to catch up. But we see that, I mean, when we look at this, the electric eel pushes about 860 volts, man.
Wow.
And most electric animals use, lower volts. So, I mean, it's just on another level.
But it's like nature was telling us our future in a way, you know, that we're going to be harnessing the power of electricity. And here was nature already using it, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And using it in a fashion, you would think, like, you look at it and you say, okay, electricity is actually more dangerous in water. And these animals develop, they're in water. So it's like, holy smokes, look at that. Well, I guess to date, nothing has been found like an electric land animal. But an electric eel in the water, man, that is like on another level. And, the catfish and stuff like that. So we have that. Coco the gorilla was a gorilla that, had a kitten, all bull, I think they called it. And it used sign language. The gorilla would use sign language, and it cared gently for this, to make sure it didn't crush the kitten, treated it with extreme tenderness, carried it on her back, signing with sign language about how much she loved it. And then when the kitten was killed by a car, it was signing cry, sad. It was showing emotion. A hippo, now hippos do kill impalas and anything that come within the range, but there was one notation of a account that involved a hippopotamus and an animal, which is usually known to be aggressive. A crocodile had captured an impala and was pulling it into the water. The hippo charged the crocodile, forcing it to release the prey. Then it nurtured. Instead of leaving, the hippo nudged the shivering impala toward the shore. Once on land, the hippo stood over her, the exhausted animal, seemingly protecting it from other predators until it could recover and run away. Now, there are instances of impalas coming in the water to escape wild dogs, and the hippo basically bites it, kills it, and throws it by the shore, and the dogs grab it. But then
Mhm.
there's these instances that show the compassion, the empathy, the altruism. The Linden calls it interspecies altruism. It's just altruism.
Right.
Um, but when you look at this, the fact that it's two different animals that they would try to say is just totally, it is totally different. But it's an amazing thing. And Coco, the gorilla, did that with the kitten. There's a guard dog in the orangutan that they were the this stray dog strayed into the zoo and wandered into the orangutan sanctuary. Instead of being chased away, the dog was adopted by a male orangutan. The
Really?
orangutan was observed sharing its limited food and blankets with the dog and even grooming it, showing a clear desire for companionship over a desire for territory. And
Mhm.
when I think of these things, I'm like, dolphins circle in several accounts, dolphins have formed a protective circle around humans in the water, tail slapping the surface to ward off approaching great whites until the humans could reach safety.
Yeah,
That,
I've heard of that. I've heard of that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the mystery is biologists struggle to explain this through survival of the fittest. They can't, because it totally just disbands that BS. There is no survival of the fittest. It's survival of the most adaptable or even the most smartest. Um,
Hmm.
Suggest it might be a cross species application. And they try to say, again, it's the dolphin's natural instinct to protect its own pod members, acting as if it doesn't know the difference between a human and a pod member. It's like, come on, man. You know,
No,
always some lie from an evolutionist. Always, man.
always.
Yeah,
There, it doesn't even work if it's survival of the fittest. I mean, species will be wiped out every day.
exactly.
I mean, come on. Yeah.
Yep. They would exhaust their food supply, if it was that.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Exactly.
so like he tried to go and say, oh, well, these are animals that eat meat, and that, easy food animals like grass eaters don't need much wit. And then he recanted on that. He didn't apologize by saying, oh, I made a mistake by saying grass fed animals, are not as smart as the ones that are trying to get crabs and food and meat. But then there were instances of how um, antelopes did show a very, very smart theory of mind, where it was it was showing that they have the understanding on how to eat um, certain medicinal grasses that gets rid of parasites.
Hmm.
How does an animal even know that?
Like I
To
said, I think there was a creator that put them for a purpose. I really do believe that.
Hmm.
The only thing is, I did hear a story about the bison one time. I believe it was the bison, and you can look this up, where they stopped hunting the bison. They made it illegal to hunt the bison.
uh,
Then the bison ate up all the grass and ended up dying in droves. So it's like, certain species, maybe you don't feel strongly about this, or
well,
in agreement, but that there's certain species that need to be hunted, or were put here to be hunted also.
I mean,
Uh,
I wonder about that though, because if the bison is eating up the grass, it's only that would be, if we look at it scientifically, we say, okay, that could happen, but it's like, maybe did they remove the
well,
predator?
just too many bison got populated and they just ate all the reserves, all the grass that was
Well,
all
the
the
only reason, like
supply.
when you look at, the only reason that would happen is because of the lack of the natural predator. So the
Yeah,
lack of the natural predator, one of the predators on it were Native Americans that would eat, and they knew not to overkill them because they needed to, let them procreate. Don't kill the
of
babies,
course,
right?
of course.
So now they get rid of natives. They're killing them. So now it's like, uh-oh, now the bisons are overpopulated. They're
Hmm.
killing wolves and stuff that would attack the bison because they're killing them because it's easier for the wolves to attack penned animals. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. So the
Right.
farmers are like killing the wolves off for eating their sheep. So now the bison has almost no predators. It's like, and we do see this happen. We see it where anytime something comes into an ecosystem that the natural ecosystem doesn't have a defense against, like when they snakes snuck up on planes, like on the outside, and when they landed on an island that had all these birds, the snakes started wiping them out. They had
Right.
defense. So it's like,
Well, up in Cape Cod, you see all the seals. Like they want the seals to procreate and be abundant.
mhm.
And guess what? It's attracted the great whites now. It's attracted the great whites, and they're going right out there. It's mealtime for the great whites. They're coming in droves. The sharks are there's just so many more shark sightings. I think you even see it in Long Island a lot more shark sightings. But at Cape Cod, it's ridiculous because there's just so many seals. So many seals have been allowed to procreate and not to be hunted or anything like that. But nature has a way of balancing things out. I just see that. You know what I mean? I mean, we all die, so nothing lives forever. Animals, humans, we all die. It's just nature seems to have a way of balancing things out on its own.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely
Yeah.
does. And that's the thing. If that balance is upset, we see that it can have some devastating consequences. Kind
Yeah.
of like what natives have said: whatever you do to the web of life, you do to yourself.
Sure.
Man is just a strand on that web, and so now we see rhinos have social contracts. Though they're thought to be solitary, but Linden notes instances where rhinos show unexpected social intelligence and memory, recognizing specific individuals, human and animal, after years of separation. So deep memory and adjusting their behavior based on past friendships. It's like,
Hmm.
wow. Domesticated mammals, negotiation in domesticated mammals. It includes anecdotes of domestication, domestic herbivores like horses and cows. There's one instance on a guy that wrote a book called Psychic Animals where they say that a horse helped to find the body of a ended deceased boy, like a murder victim. And
Mm.
yeah, it's like holy smokes. Um,
Well, they say some animals, like dogs especially, are very perceptive to metaphysical beings, that they can sense
mhm.
a spirit, sometimes
Yeah,
that we can't see.
yep,
I
yeah.
wouldn't be surprised, especially with cats or anything like that, that they have that sensory right there.
They say also that certain herbivores, including domestic ones, selectively eat specific non-nutritive plants to treat parasites or illnesses. So
Mm.
how do they know to self-medicate? How do they
Yeah.
know which plant was safe? It shows a logical connection between cause and effect that goes beyond simple grazing. So science is showing this, but the evolution thing is just covering their whole
Yeah.
mind. They're saying, okay, how can I switch this evidence to fit the religion of evolution instead of saying, you know what, it really is pointing toward things not evolving. It just doesn't make sense anymore with all of this proof.
Right.
Um, Leaf swallowing. Primates like bonobos and chimps have been observed swallowing rough, bristly leaves whole. This isn't for digestion. The leaves act like Velcro in the gut, physically scouring and removing tapeworms and other parasites as they pass through. That level. And they have another study that showed that the chimp will fold the leaf in a certain way that actually enables it to go through and capture the parasites better.
Mm.
So if it just eats it'll get some, but it figured out. Like, how does it figure that out? How does it understand the folds in the gut of the entire? That's just such a level of intelligence. It goes past what humans know innately. So we see that, Mark.
But humans can learn from it, though. That's the thing.
Yeah,
Humans can learn from these
yeah.
animals.
It's kind of like the Greeks when they invaded Egypt. They made them their teachers. They knew, look, you can't, okay, yeah, we can conquer them, but these people are smarter. They have more knowledge because they said, look, our country through war, we lost a lot of our history. And then the Egyptians, that's where they got back a lot of their stuff. I think the toga actually came from Egypt, and then that's one of the things they transferred over. So the Greeks were smart enough to make the Egyptians the teacher. Don't just conquer and kill all of them, And
Right.
it's like over here, if that had happened, we'd have another level of, it would be a golden age because they're saying, look, don't pollute the water, or are you crazy? It's like
Hmm.
nobody, it's like we all benefit from a clean river.
Of
And
course.
I think that's what it kind of boggled them because they said, look, they turned places with trees into deserts. And I mean, some of the knowledge that I've read from Native Americans, it's just on another level. Yeah. So it just it makes me wonder. But going back to some of the examples, Mark says the Maoris.
I'll be right back. I gotta run. I gotta run for work. So
Yeah, yeah,
I'll be back though.
no, I appreciate it, man. Yeah. Um, Mark says the Maori hunted the moa and the natives eagles to extinction. Wow. I don't buy the narrative that the natives are always in tune with the balance of nature. Yeah, no, you're right. If that's there, then that tells us that, yeah, that's scientific evidence that they hunted the moa, and then wow, that's really messed up. So again, the both sides of the spectrum will exist. We'll have some native tribes that do live in accordance, and of course some that don't. Just like we got some modern humans that want to live in accordance, and then we got some that are just monsters. So yeah, I would say, yeah, not all are. It definitely ain't all good. You got some straight on the savage level, without a doubt. Yeah, totally, totally. The ones that are good, I mean, we can learn from both, but yeah, we learn from these. Don't hunt things to extinction, by looking at that, and then other ones we learn from them too. But the leaf swallowing, man, that's some deep stuff with the chimps. I'm like, wow, bitter pith chewing. So chimpanzees selectively seeking out the bitter pith of the, I think it's the Veronia plant, while it has no nutritional value and is often toxic. Chimps only eat it when they're suffering from parasite infections, suggesting they use it as a dewormer. It's like humans don't even really know when they got worms and parasites. And chimps figure that out. So once again, chimps seem to be smarter in some aspects of life than humans. They definitely have better short-term memory. And they prove this with the computers. They have like buttons that they push, and they push it in a series that no human has been able to do at that speed. So these are some of the tests on how they found it out. So I like to go deep and find out how they did the experiment and everything. So we have that. Wound care. While the book discusses early observations, that's the octopus and the orangutan, Eugene Linden. There's recent research confirms that the instincts, such as the Sumatran orangutan named Racus, who was seen chewing acar kuning, a medical vine, to create a juice and paste that he applied directly to a facial wound to prevent infection. How does that happen? How does that happen? So now we have primates that understand medicinal plants and stuff better than most modern humans. They don't have to go to the doctor. They don't have a doctor, Elegant elephant birth inducers. In Kenya, pregnant elephants have been observed traveling long distances to eat the leaves of specific trees known to stimulate labor. How? Right? How? A behavior that local women reportedly mirrored after watching the animals. So the people in Kenya were smart enough to let the animals be their teachers. Look at that. But you got some modern people that will say that they're primitive, that the animals are not smart and the people are primitive. No, this is on another level of intelligence and living in accordance with each other, living in peace. The deer and Dittany, drawing on historical anecdotes, there's observations of wounded stags seeking out Dittany wild oregano. And that's what Dittany is, a plant with antiseptic and coagulating properties to treat injury. Deer, the one that they're saying, oh, well, they graze on grass, they're not that smart. They are. So there's clay eating macaws, parrots. They eat clay to neutralize toxins found in seeds and unripe fruits that make up their diet, essentially using the earth as an antacid, because we do see clay in antacids, bentonite clay and stuff like that. This is just amazing when I think about it. Dogs know exactly when earthquake is about to hit. So you have earthquake predictions where dogs are acting restless, alerting their owners before the tremors. Weather alerts, accounts of cats that can alert their owners to incoming storms well before they arrive. Medical detection, specifically dogs detecting cancer or undiagnosed tumors in their owners before medical professionals have identified them. We know there's danger and rescue, right? Foreseen danger, such as rescuing people from fires or alerting them to life-threatening situations just before they occur. This is like a sixth sense. And a description of pets that can identify and soothe an owner's chronic pain or upcoming health crisis through profound powers of empathy. I mean, that's like you're getting on a deep level there. Blood sugar shifts. Pet can sense subtle shifts in an owner's scent or behavior that precede a diabetic seizure or heart event. And we've seen this. I mean, there was a dog that actually went to the fridge and got the medicine for the owner. I think the owner had collapsed in the kitchen or something like that, or right before the owner had the seizure, it got it out for it. Amazing, amazing. And you can find some of these videos on YouTube. VOC recognition, volatile organic compounds. Dogs can smell that. The cancerous cells related in the breath, sweat, urine to a human. These chemical changes are invisible, but to a dog, they're clear physical sign. Pressure drops. Cats and birds are highly sensitive to drops in air pressure. So this is the fight or flight response, causing them to seek shelter and act restlessly before a storm is visible to the human eye. Static electricity. Some animals may detect the buildup of static electricity in the air that occurs just before a lightning strike. So we have that. Mark says, I saw a video of a wild chimp crafting a hand axe out of a stone and then using it to cut down a branch from. Wow. I wonder if it was real. You think if it was AI or real? That's some very, I never heard of that. Dogs can predict. Yeah, they definitely can predict seizure. They're just, it's amazing when you think of that. It is the fact that they can predict that in another species, a human being, that's a higher level of understanding. You know, humans can't detect that with other humans, and they definitely can't detect it in dogs. So, yeah, we see that. So we have that side training and empathy. So psychic power, seismic activity, P wave, primary waves, which are smaller, faster moving waves that arrive seconds to minutes before the destructive secondary waves of the earthquake. They can detect the P waves, the primary waves animals can detect. Infrasound. Many species can hear extremely low frequencies caused by tectonic shifting or underground gas releases. That's just right before a major earthquake. So that's like, wow. We have, what's some of the other ones? Magnetoreception. So that's another one. We do see that. P-wave, seizure alerting. So yeah, that was the one that Mark mentioned. You have that. Sensory instincts. Dogs could predict the approach of an enemy scout in wartime, attempting by smelling the scent of a stranger on the wind or hearing a snap of a twig long before human soldiers notice anything. Messenger dogs and pigeons, we see that extremely high level of intelligence. Canaries and gas detection, we know that canary in the mine. Bombing alerts, so animals have sensed that before. Now, this is an instance of a 5,000-mile dog, the account of a stowaway dog that traveled roughly 5,000 miles to reunite with its owner or the person that it was close to. The investigative horse, that was the story of a horse that reportedly helped police locate the body of a murdered boy. The helpful seagull, and this was a narrative of a seagull actively seeking out help for an injured woman. So the seagull sees a woman that's injured and it's like, hey, I got to get somebody to help this person. Wow. That's really, really, it's amazing. Natural disaster warnings, supernatural apparitions, where there's accounts of ghostly cats and dogs, as well as phantom horses observed by witnesses. Speaking animals. Among the more unusual claims is the story of a horse capable of speaking short, intelligible sentences. Now, we see this with cats. We see this with dogs. It's almost unbelievable. A lot of people don't want to believe it, but it's out there. The proof is out there. Let me see. We have the ghostly. Oh, there was a ghostly Scotty dog, an account of a deceased dog that allegedly returned from the grave to warn its owners of the fire. The owner said that it heard barking, which woke it up, the same barking that its dog used to do. And it's like, wow. And if it wasn't for that, they got up in time to save themselves before the fire got very dangerous. There's another one, a 1,500-mile Persian cat, story of a cat that traveled over 1,500 miles across the United States to find its owner after they moved. So this cat, how? You look at that like, wow. Telepathic rescue with a cat. One owner said the cat sent it a psychic telepathic type of message to be rescued from a garbage dump. So there is a connection there somehow. To say that, oh, this couldn't happen, it shows that the person is afraid to change according to evidence. So this, I figured let me present some of this stuff as evidence. Mark said there's a dash cam video from years ago of a dog stopping traffic, leading it back to the owner. Yes, there's a dog that did that. There's also one of a pig that did that too. A pig had actually stopped traffic in a similar instance. It's shocking and amazing. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, man. But yeah, I know Mr. X, he was going to say he was going to jump back on, man. It's 12:43. I'm kind of tired, guys. And I appreciate everybody being here, man. Mr. X, everybody in the chat. We'll talk again tomorrow. I'll release another video. I released a short video about the cat that could sense the detect death and stuff. So if people want to check that, I'll try to release videos and shorts. And of course, tomorrow, tonight, I'll try to live stream again. You guys take care. Have a great night. We'll talk soon.